PVT. This was actually invented by a guy who was in the solar thermal business for a long time, and I think could see some of the disadvantages of solar thermal, but and also just some of this system really has some great advantages. PVT solar located up in Oakland or Berkeley. You can see them on the web. Basically, what it is it is a it's like a mini greenhouse where they're capturing warm air. When sunshine hits a solar panel, you know, somewhere between 15 and 20% of the sunlight that hits it turns into electricity. You know, it's doing its job. About 10% is reflected or absorbed by the panels, so reflected back from the sky. But about 70% actually goes through the panels and can be captured as hot air. That hot air is then fanned through an air-to-water heat exchanger, and now you've got warm water for use for domestic, use for space heating as well through either floor heating or radiators or fan coils or whatever you need. So you get this nice solar thermal contribution in the same area, in the exact same area that you would be putting in your solar electric system anyway. You can also run the system at night and do some pre-cooling, taking advantage of night sky radiation. You can run cool air into your house. We have not done that yet, but you know, they say you can do it. The system does require, for the most part, a south-sloping roof and an attic underneath it. They do have some details for flat roofs now, and we're trying to work out some stuff for some ground mount. Great Title 24 benefit with solar thermal systems for domestic hot water. And kind of a quirky thing about Title 24, as most of you know, you get 0 credit for solar thermal for space heating, 0 credit for solar electric systems, but you do get very good credit for domestic hot water systems, and so this kind of gives you all in one. Here's how the system looks up close. Here's your PV panels. Here they have a little hole at the top where the warm air gets sucked out of. Or the systems are installed similar to a skylight, and the racking system is not very expensive. The air handler is not, or the air-to-water heat exchanger is not all that expensive. In fact, in some cases, the fact that you're not buying roof, the roofing material, you can actually get the solar thermal contribution for almost 0. Anyway, and it looks pretty good too. Here's another view. The very top, what they do is they put in a clear glass panel. It's kind of or I shouldn't say clear, but it's kind of a bluish tint, but it doesn't have the PV embedded in it, and so most of the sunlight that hits it actually goes through, and so the air directly underneath here is a little bit warmer. I think they can get up to about 175-degree air temperature, which can be converted into reasonably warm water temperature for domestic. Okay, I've been kind of mentioning how cost-effective the grid-tied solar electric systems have become, and I want to remind you that, again, 2 years ago, a 10-kilowatt system would have cost somewhere about $10 a watt, or $100,000 for a 10-kilowatt system. Would have taken up 1,000 square feet. The rebates would have knocked it down to about $75,000. And that was just, I think, 2007, beginning of 2008, those numbers are pretty accurate. Okay, now most systems this size are going in at about $6 a watt, or $60,000. You get a rebate from the Public Utilities Commission for a new house. 10-kilowatt system should get you about $25,000. A 30% federal tax credit is taken from there. Your net cost is $24,500. That added to your mortgage at about 5% adds $131 to the cost, to your mortgage cost. Another way to look at that is that you basically have a fixed cost of electricity for the next 30 years at about 10 cents a kilowatt hour. That is significantly lower than what you would buy it from the utilities in most cases in California, and it's fixed for 30 years. So your costs are $131 a month. For a house this size, they would have a utility bill of somewhere around $312 at least. That thing's pretty. It's pretty. This is for like a 3,000 square foot house. But I'll show you the numbers in a minute. And the utility bill would have been at least this high. So you're thinking, great, the guy saves $180 a month the very first month. What a deal. It's actually better than that. Keep in mind your mortgage is tax deductible. Your PG&E bill or your utility bill is not. Most people who are, say they're in by your combined tax, you're up there 35, 36, 40%, you have to make close to $500 to pay PG&E $312, whereas your mortgage payment is tax deductible. You're making good money first month. Okay, so I'll get back to more case studies in a minute. I do want to talk about kind of the last feature, which is, all right, so there's good, compelling reasons to use, grid-tie solar electric systems and to do your space conditioning, because the solar electric has become so reasonable, and it's probably going down. This last example was at $10 a watt. We are routinely getting, $5 a watt installation costs. So at any rate, so if we make that jump, say, okay, we want to use electricity to do our space conditioning, and to be honest, the sweet spot for a net zero energy house is, when we're comparing to propane, going all electric makes sense every time. If you've got a south-facing roof or a place to put panels, and you're building a new house, and your alternative is propane, it's hard for me to imagine a scenario where we would say, yep, go ahead and put in that propane system. It's going to be cost-effective. Solar is going to blow it away every time, the way things are now. Now, natural gas is almost a third the cost of propane. So there's definitely some reasons to use natural gas in some cases, or at least it's close. I can see somebody looking at the numbers carefully. But with propane, it's not even close. So your choices for using electricity for space conditioning, you got your standard air-to-air heat pumps, you got your geo-exchange systems. General Electric just came out with a nice little air-to-water heat pump. You may have seen that being advertised during the U.S.-Canadian gold medal hockey game a couple weeks ago in the Olympics. They had a nice ad for this. You've got your split systems, that you see almost everywhere these days, especially overseas. And then what's new and what was introduced in the latter half of 2009 are these air-to-water heat pumps, which have some tremendous advantages, and we'll go through that in a second. Okay, the relative efficiency, I didn't even mention, you could go just straight electric resistance here. I didn't even put it up on the screen because A, it's really hard to get it through the energy code, if not impossible, and B, it's so inefficient that, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Anyway, so in terms of coefficient performance, electric resistance has a COP of about 1. Your air-to-water heat pumps historically have been at about 47 degrees COP of 2, if they're that good. Your standard air-to-air heat pump, COPs are around 3 at 47 degrees. These new variable speed inverter air-to-water heat pumps is kind of the latest, greatest thing. COP at 47 is around 4. Your annual COPs in most parts of California are somewhere, 3